Have you ever worked yourself to the bone, given everything you had to a job, and then watched someone else, someone who did the bare minimum, walk away with more security than you? Maybe you've felt that quiet, burning frustration of realizing that the harder you worked, the more invisible you became, and the less someone did, the more untouchable they seemed. If that's ever happened to you, this video is going to explain exactly why, and more importantly, what to do about it. Because here's the truth, most people will never say out loud. Lazy people don't get fired, not always, not usually. And when you understand why, it will change how you see every workplace you ever walk into. If this sounds like something you need to hear, take a second right now. Hit like and subscribe, because the things we're about to cover are the kind of truths most people only figure out after years of frustration. You deserve to hear them now. Let me tell you about a man named Daniel. Daniel was the kind of employee companies put in brochures. First one in, last one out. He trained new hires, fixed problems before anyone noticed them, and consistently delivered results above what was asked. For 3 years, he poured himself into that company. Then one day, a round of layoffs came, and Daniel was on the list. Meanwhile, Mark, who showed up at 9:01, left at exactly 5, and hadn't taken on a new responsibility in 2 years, kept his job without question. Daniel sat in his car that afternoon, trying to understand what had gone wrong. He had done everything right. He had given everything he had. And yet, what Daniel didn't understand, what most people never understand, is that companies don't work the way we think they do. We grow up believing the rule is simple: work harder, get rewarded, move up. But that's not the game being played. It never was. The first truth is this: just doing your job is safer than overperforming. Think about what happens when you consistently exceed expectations. It sounds like a good thing, and the first time, it is. You get praised, maybe a small reward, a moment in the spotlight, but then something shifts. Your new output becomes the new normal. What was exceptional last quarter is now expected this quarter. You didn't raise the bar for one project. You raised the bar permanently, and now you have to clear that height every single time, or suddenly you're underperforming. Managers don't manage for peaks. They manage for consistency. A reliable average is far easier to plan around than someone who's brilliant one month and burned out the next. The safest place in a company is right at the expectation line, not below it, not dramatically above it, precisely on it, predictable, stable, no surprises. That's what makes certain employees invisible in the best possible way. Invisible enough to never be questioned, never be a problem, never become a target. But it gets deeper. The second truth is something managers will never admit in a meeting. They keep underperformers on purpose. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't notice, but because firing someone is genuinely difficult. It creates paperwork, legal risk, uncomfortable conversations. It means recruiting, interviewing, onboarding, weeks or months of disruption just to replace one person who, honestly, wasn't causing any real damage. An underperformer is a known problem. A new hire is an unknown risk. And most managers, when faced with that choice, quietly choose the known problem. They'll manage around it. They'll compensate with other team members. They'll tolerate it indefinitely, because tolerating is easier than changing. This is not a flaw in the system. This is the system working exactly as designed. Companies are not optimized for excellence. They are optimized for stability. They don't avoid inefficiency, they avoid disruption. And this is where most people get it completely wrong. You've probably heard the advice: work hard, make yourself valuable, go above and beyond. And none of that is wrong exactly. But there's a piece missing that changes everything. Consider what we might call the minimum viable employee effect. A company doesn't need every person to be exceptional. It needs each role to function reliably above a certain threshold. Once someone clears that bar, even by a small margin, they become, in the system's eyes, a solved problem, a checked box. You're not paid to be exceptional. You're paid to not fail. That's the quiet contract most people never read. And once you understand it, a lot of confusing workplace moments suddenly make sense. Now, and this is the part that changes everything, think about effort. Most of us were raised to believe that effort is its own reward, that if you work hard enough, someone will notice, someone will see, someone will recognize it, but effort is private, value is judged publicly. The work you do alone at 11 p.m., invisible. The stress you carry to deliver early, invisible. The extra hours, the quiet dedication, the problems you solve before they became emergencies, almost entirely invisible. What gets seen, what gets rewarded, is what's visible, what gets talked about, what exists in the right conversations, in front of the right people. More effort without visibility or positioning is just more weight you carry alone. Have you ever felt like you were putting in everything you had and still somehow falling behind? Have you ever realized something about your career too late and wish someone had told you sooner? Drop it in the comments. You might be surprised how many people feel exactly the same way. Here's another uncomfortable truth. Reliability beats intensity in most corporate systems. High performers fluctuate. When you care deeply, when you push hard, when you take ownership, you have good months and rough months. You get overloaded, stressed, inconsistent. That inconsistency, even when your average is far above everyone else, creates anxiety in the people managing you. Meanwhile, the person who quietly delivers a solid 70% every single week, without drama, without variance, without surprises, they look dependable. And dependability is what systems are built to reward, not brilliance, not passion, dependability. So, here is the real catch. The thing this whole video has been building toward. Lazy people don't get fired. That part is true. The system does protect them, but it never promotes them. They don't get fired because they're not a threat. But they also don't get chosen. Not for opportunities, not for growth, not for the moments that actually matter. They are safe, completely, utterly, permanently safe, and stuck. The system protects them, but it never moves them forward. They trade their growth for their comfort, and most of them don't even realize it until years have passed and they're still in the same chair, doing the same job, wondering where the time went. That is the real catch. Now, let's talk about what to actually do with all of this, because the point of this video is not to tell you to stop working hard, and it's definitely not to tell you to become the person who does nothing. Neither path works. The goal is to be strategically valuable, and that's a different thing entirely. The first shift is this. Control expectations early. Before you overdeliver, think about what the new baseline will look like after. Because once you've said it, you own it. The second shift, make your work visible, not through self-promotion or politics, but through communication. Share updates, name outcomes, connect your effort to results that other people can see and reference. Effort that isn't narrated disappears. And the third shift, and this is the most important one, build leverage outside your role, skills that travel with you, a network that isn't dependent on where you work, a reputation that exists beyond your job title, because the most vulnerable position you can be in is one where your entire value is locked inside someone else's system. Here's the thing about high performers who become replaceable, and this is painful to hear. They document processes, they train others, they build systems that run without them, and then one day, the system doesn't need them anymore. They turn themselves into a function, an asset the company can absorb and move on from. The better you are at your job, the easier it becomes to turn your job into a process. And a process doesn't need a person. So we come back to where we started, that quiet frustration you may have felt, watching someone do less, risk less, give less, and somehow hold on. Now you know why. And now you know something more important. How not to fall into either trap. The goal isn't to work harder, and it's not to work less. The goal is to stop being easy to ignore or easy to replace. Know your value, show your value, and build the kind of leverage that belongs to you, not to a job title, not to a company's approval, not to a system that was never designed to reward you in the first place. If this video made you think, even a little, please don't keep it to yourself. Like it, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. And if you're ready to go deeper, the next video is already on your screen. Take care of yourself, and keep your eyes open.